So next up, moving along, recognizing the National HBPA Claiming Horse of the Year. Again, an award that epitomizes what we believe that the thoroughbred racing industry was built on, horses that go every day, work hard every day, and end up being very successful for their owners. So I want to introduce Todd Mostaller, the executive director of the Pennsylvania HBPA, but also the chairman of our industry awards committee, to recognize our recipient this year.
Thank you, Eric. Our committee, we are very diligent as we look throughout all the affiliate areas as far as horses that are deserving of this award. I don't recall how many years we've done this now, but it's got to be, I don't know, you remember, it's been a long time, like the rest of everything else has been a long time. But what we do is everybody submits their candidates. We have discussion, and ultimately we come up with the horse that's going to be Horse of the Year. This year, I believe we had 5 or 6 nominations or people recommendations. After discussion, I think it was clear that the horse SPIKEZONE is well deserving of this honor. I've had the pleasure to watch the horse run in the Mid-Atlantic. He's just a runner. He epitomizes our industry from a horse standpoint, and these kind of horses that lay it on the line for us every day. The trainer, Jamie Ness, I didn't realize how important he thought this award was, because he's got a blazer on for the first time I've ever seen him in 25 years. So this is a big deal. So it's Jamie Ness is the trainer. Charles Lowe, we thank you for taking time out of your schedule and showing up today and appreciating this award. So without further ado, I give claimer of the year to the horse SPIKEZONE, trainer Jamie Ness, owner Charles Lowe, and Troy Johnson. Troy was unable to make it today.
Stand over here and get a picture. I'm sure. Over there. All right. Yeah, let's over that thing.
Anybody like to say anything?
Yeah.
You got something, Charles?
you did.
Just quick. I got a horse run at park in about 1 minute, so I made in 10, but I got to get back and watch him run. But whoever voted for SPIKEZONE, they got this one right. This is a blue collar horse, ones we deal with every day. He modest beginnings, I think, was under 20,000 we bought him for. 19,000. That's about our limit, So to get a horse like that with a price like that, it's pretty nice. But he overcame a lot. He had 3 knee surgeries, and with this awful no Lasix in the stake races, we're reluctant to run him in stake races because he's got a little bit of a bleeding problem, which it's too bad, because a nice horse like this should be running in stakes races, but we keep him back for the good of the horse. But I appreciate it, and here's Charles.
Oh, yes. I just want to thank you, the NHBPA, for this awesome award. And I also want to thank Jamie for doing such a great job with SPIKEZONE. He's one of a kind. He's amazing. He has great heart, and he's such a warrior. And I'm so lucky to have a horse like him. Thank you.
That was great. Let's give him another round of applause, because I think that statement at the end, Jamie really summed it up, and I think that term is used quite frequently, quite frequently when we're looking at the horses and the PPs. And I would be remiss to not especially thank Jenny Reese, who takes some time and effort and gets basically any PPs we want done for us and able to send to the committee, so we can get a good assessment of their career running right up to the date that they make the decision. So thanks to Jenny for doing that. So next up, we have a very special award, one that certainly is near and dear to my heart. When you talk about people that are important, not only to the national HBPA and an HBPA affiliate, but when you talk about people who are important to the industry, people who have made a footprint, made a stamp, whether it's, butting heads with racetrack operators or bending over backwards to make sure benevolence programs on the backside are done properly, being available for horsemen to bitch at you. That's what it takes to be an executive director in the HBPA. But when you look at our presidents and our board members, everybody who serves, this is voluntary, guys. I always say that, I get paid to do my job, but when you look at the board members who do this every day and the presidents who serve via an election, I always like to throw that out. We're the only group that's elected. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of work for a reason, a lot of work for a good reason. And so for us, it means a lot to give out a resolution for someone's acts of commitment and honor, not only to the horsemen, but the horse racing industry. So with that, I want to turn it over to Rick Hiles to make the presentation of a resolution.
Well, this is a great honor for me to recognize a man that's, I don't know how many good things you can say about him. And the only one thing that I could say about him was the day he told me he was leaving me. Most of you that's here have been here any amount of time know Marty, what he means to this organization, what he's meant to Kentucky HBPA. I've watched him, worked with him for over 40 years. We started out as friends. We've become almost like brothers. I mean, I love him to death. I was always told in life, if you could find 5 people that you would rely on and call your close friends, you would be lucky. Well, Marty is certainly one of those with me. And Marty, why don't you come on up here and stand up here beside me? We've been through so many things together. We've been threatened. We've been through federal lawsuits. We've set records on the book to protect horsemen for simulcasting. I've watched this man give his life to the horsemen, to the Kentucky HBPA. He served as national executive director at one time, as did I. And it's just been a pleasure to work with him. And I'm sure there were times he would like to reel me in from things I was doing, and he would explain things to me. And sometimes I would agree and sometimes I wouldn't. But without Marty, the Kentucky HBPA would have never been where it's at. I've seen every horseman that ever came to him in his life for need. I don't care if it was a hot walker or a groom or what they needed. Marty was always there for them. And he's a guy that will be sorely missed in Kentucky forever and ever. And it gives me a great honor and pleasure to recognize this man here for the work that he's done for the national, for Kentucky and HBPAs across the country. So let's give a big round of applause for Marty Maline, please.
I, I, I don't know what to say, but I appreciate the words, Rick, and everything. I'm sorry. Thank you. It just I do want to mention a couple of things. As Rick said, the lawsuits and probably the most, as I was driving down here from South Carolina, where I've retired to, I remember the first question of the Interstate Horse Racing Act, the one racetrack that we were having issues with decided that the Interstate Horse Racing Act was unconstitutional. And they took us to task on it. We went through the first court. Federal judge decided we had violated the racetrack's commercial free speech. which kind of blew us away. Our attorney made the mistake in a general meeting of telling the horsemen, we're 4-5. And, but when we got to the second level, the appeals court, the federal appeals court, and the 3-judge panel, at the time, President Clinton, they were very concerned because this was somebody questioning a federal law. They sent in one of their chief litigators, and the guy did a bang up job. I'm not sure he even knew what a horse was, but he knew that law, and they pounded him with questions, and he answered every one of them and explained about the law. And I remember one of the judges asked him a question, a technical question, and he kind of stumbled a little bit. And I looked to my right, and Rick stood up and said, I think I can explain that a little better. And the judge says, who is that man? and at any rate, Don Sturgill had a near coronary, but Rick did sit down. He said, I just wanted to explain things to him, but we were successful in that. And one of the things that I recalled the attorney that was representing the federal government, he explained that what is important here in that law is that if you read the history of the affair, you learn that the legislators were quite concerned about the racetracks and the fact that at the end of the day, they're mostly concerned with their bottom line. And of course, simulcasting was a new thing at that time. And the thought was that perhaps some tracks would decide to go out of business and would leave you with a situation where they just simulcast. And that was a concern of the legislators prior to passing this law. And so they put in a provision that who but the horsemen would be concerned about preserving live racing. And because of that, the horsemen, we had the right, and by God, there were many of us that questioned our right over the years. We were always concerned we were colluding and it was a Sherman antitrust violation. But at the end of the day, over many different situations and scenarios, it turned out that we were correct, and that when an instance like one track decided to close up almost immediately and just have simulcasting, and the horsemen decide upon themselves, the various HBPAs, we can't send our signal if they're not going to guarantee live racing. And of course, at the time, Bill Wamsley was the president. I was the national simulcast director, and we were both sued for $10 million. And Bill probably could have covered it, but I had a little problem. But and it seemed like that over the course of time, it was called into question, but we were always successful, and it kind of parallels what you all are dealing with right now with the decoupling situation that will be discussed further. But it's the horsemen that helped the racetracks to secure their the legislators to approve casino gambling. And they relied on horsemen through these various jurisdictions because the legislators wanted to hear from the people. And so I think it's the same scenario we had back then, that it's the horsemen. And thank God there is an HBPA, because the horsemen will stand up and make sure that if there's any way to protect the industry, it's an organization like the HBPA that will be there front and center. And I applaud the battles that you are going through with decoupling, with HISA, and just keep up the good work. There's a lot of us out there that are cheering from the sidelines. Thank you.